And I'm glad you all were able to make it. Mr. Giamanco right there. We have Alma from CSUMB here today with us to kind of take you through the financial aid process and what's out there in financial aid. She's been with CSUMB for 10 years, and thank you so much for coming, Alma.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today. So, once again, my name is Alma Martinez. I'm one of the financial aid counselors at CSUMB. I have been doing financial aid for close to 21 years, so hopefully I'll be able to, guide you as best as we possibly can. So we're gonna get started with just a quick overview of what financial aid is and what to expect. So first things first, as we all know, the FAFSA application is up, right? Now, when your student goes on the website, they're gonna see two applications, 2526 and 2627. It is very important that they complete 2627, okay? That's the only application that they need to complete for now. Typically every year, sometimes there's a few students that they complete the wrong one, right? So we wanna make sure that we are applying for FAFSA 2627. Now, the priority deadline is the deadline for state grants, right? State of California offers different grants, which I'm gonna cover in a few more minutes, okay? And the priority deadline goes from October 1st through March 2nd. So ideally, we want all students that are gonna use financial aid to complete their application no later than March 2nd. Now, one thing that we have to keep in mind is that FAFSA works on Eastern time, so they're 2 hours ahead of us, okay? That's why we always tell students, do not wait until the last minute on March 2nd, because if you have your student completing the FAFSA at 11 p.m. on March 2nd, guess what? They just missed the deadline, because on the East Coast, it's already March the 3rd, okay? So let's be very mindful about that deadline. Now, like I mentioned, the priority deadline will help your student qualify for possible tuition waivers and other scholarships offered by the state of California. Both applications will require 2024 income, okay? So when you are completing your section of the FAFSA, FAFSA is gonna ask you to authorize for them to electronically transfer all your tax information from that year, 2024. You wanna authorize them, that's the easiest way to complete the FAFSA, and you'll know it's completed accurately, okay? Now, FAFSA will ask you if you have any investments. Please do not list the value of your home. Yes, if we have a house, that is an investment, but if we live in that house, we do not report that value to FAFSA, okay? Because what FAFSA does is that they will look at the investments that you have and pretty much say, okay, so you have something to help you pay for your kids' education, right? But if that's the home that you live in, they don't want to know about it, okay? Another thing is retirement plans. So if your investments are all retirement plans, you do not list that on the FAFSA either, okay? Now, if you have your own business, you will only list the value of the business if you have more than 100 employees. The same if you own a farm, okay? If you have 100 employees or less, FAFSA doesn't care about knowing the value of your business or your farm. So getting ready to complete a FAFSA. So students and parents will both need to create an FSA ID. Now, if you as a parent have already created an FSA ID for other children, you don't have to create a new one, but your student will have to, okay? Now, it is very important that if this is the first time you and your student are creating that FSA ID, You cannot share the same phone number or the same email address, okay? And we're always recommending students to use their personal email, not their school email, because this is the FSA ID that they will use for at least the next 4 years, okay? Until they are completely done with their education. So please make sure that, they do not share your phone number or your email address. Now, if there are 2 parents on the FAFSA, only one parent needs their FSA ID, okay? I know that when all the changes came with FAFSA simplification, they were asking for 2 parents. FAFSA has now confirmed that they only require 1 parent, okay? So that's more or less how the page is gonna look. And if you see here, you only see 26, 27. But before you get to that page, the student will see 25, 26, and 26, 27. That's why we like to emphasize that you only complete 26, 27. Obviously, if this is the first time doing the FAFSA for the student, they will hit where it says start a new form, okay? So what happens after the student completes either the FAFSA or the DREAM Act application? The schools that they listed will receive that information. Probably last year we received it between December and January, okay? So whenever this year the Department of Education decides to release that information, we will get that information. And that's when your student will start getting estimated award letters, right? It could either be from a CSU, a UC, a community college, a private institution. We all follow the same steps. We wait until we get the FAFSA, then we issue your student an estimated award letter, okay? Now, the California Student Aid Commission will also have access to their FAFSA, okay? And they need to have access to the FAFSA because they are the ones that can potentially say if your student qualifies for either a Cal Grant or the middle class scholarship, okay? So some of the financial aid programs, so now typically all these programs are offered at a UC or CSU level. Some of them are offered at community colleges and some don't, okay? So federal grants, we have a federal Pell Grant, the FSCOG, it's a federal supplemental educational opportunity grant. Typically that one is only offered to first-time freshmen, okay? So their first year as a freshman. State university grants, remember how I keep saying that priority deadline? Well, in order for your student to be considered for that one, they need to complete their FAFSA by March 2nd. The state university grant is a tuition waiver, okay? Similar to what the community colleges have, the Promise Grant or the Salinas California grant, that's the equivalent of the state university grant. But the UCs, the CSUs call them state university grant, okay? The UC has a similar tuition waiver, okay? And obviously you will see that that's for a higher amount, and it makes sense because at a UC tuition is higher. Remember, these grants are just, covering tuition. Then the Cal Grant, the middle class scholarship, and CSU scholarship, CSUMB scholarship. So our scholarship application opened up on October 1st. So what I recommend students is that to look at the websites of the schools that they're gonna attend, because the scholarship applications for each institution is opening up, okay? So if they're thinking of going to a CSU, a UC, or a community college, have them go on their website and start applying for scholarships, okay? Even if they're not sure if they're gonna attend there or not, it's a good idea to, make sure that they cover every possible option, okay? Now, FAFSA offers the federal work study, which is pretty much a part-time job while they are going to classes, okay? Even though you will see it as an award under financial aid award letter, it is not, they have to work for it, they have to earn it. So a student may see $4,000 for the year, right, as a federal work study. But if the student doesn't get a job within that school, they're not gonna have access to that money, okay? And typically how it works is around 20 hours per week, okay? As long as the student is passing all their classes, they are continuing to be eligible for the program, okay? Then there's another program offered by the state of California, which is called College Corp. It's very similar to federal work study. It mimics the same program. It's just that this is a paid internship, okay? Same concept, the student needs to apply for it, they'll place them at a site, and they'll be, doing their 20 hours a week and getting compensated for it, okay? Then obviously, student loans, subsidized and subsidized loans, Parent Plus loan, Dream loans, and Teach grants. Now, the reason why we put Teach grants under the loan section is because the Teach grant comes with a service agreement. So the Department of Education requires for them to, teach at certain schools for 5 years. So what happens if the student changes their mind or if they don't fulfill that service agreement? That Teach grant becomes an unsubsidized loan. And for those of you that do not know, unsubsidized loan, even though they are student loans, those are the ones that accumulate interest. So for example, sometimes when we have incoming freshmen say, oh, well, I'm gonna be a teacher and I wanna apply for the Teach grant, we typically have them wait until they are in the credential part of the program for that same reason. Because if the student changes their major, now they have a loan, okay? Because again, if they don't fulfill that requirement, that grant will be converted into a loan, okay? The subsidized loan, it is a student loan that it is based on need because it has no interest while the student is in school. So any loans that the student takes while they are in school, they're not gonna enter repayment. They'll start paying those loans 6 months after they are no longer in school, whether they graduate or not, okay? So let's talk a little bit about the difference between the community college and the CSU. We get this question asked so many times, right? So does the CSU offers free tuition like a community college? Yes, okay? Like I was mentioning before, the CSUs offer the state university grant, which is a tuition waiver, okay? So it's free tuition. How can your student know if they qualify for the state university grant? So for this year, or this upcoming year, the FAFSA or the Dream Act application needs to be completed by the priority deadline. That's the first requirement, right? Second requirement is once you submit the FAFSA, all of your students will get a Student Aid Index number, SAI. That number is very important because it's gonna determine what type of financial aid your student qualifies for. The higher the number, the lower the grants, okay? The lower the number, the higher the grants, okay? So, and obviously the student has to be a California resident to qualify for any state aid. Community colleges offers free tuition for 2 years. What about the CSUs? Well, at the CSUs, you can get free tuition for up to 4 years as long as you continue to meet the requirements, meaning every year you're gonna complete your FAFSA during priority deadline, you're gonna have the Student Aid Index that is needed to qualify for the program, okay? So how to apply for Cal Grant? So the main thing is the FAFSA, right? We have to submit the FAFSA by priority deadline, which is October 1st through March 2nd. Then the high school will submit your student GPA. Cal Grant will receive that information and they will evaluate for what type of Cal Grant your student qualifies, okay? So for example, I don't know if it's very clear, if you can see it, but let's just say, your family is 5 persons in the family, and if your income is $155,000 a year, then, and if your student has a GPA of at least 3.0, they have a chance of getting the Cal Grant Aid. And how much is the Cal Grant A? The Cal Grant A is a tuition waiver. So for example, let's say your student wants to go to a UC and they get the Cal Grant A, you already know you don't have to worry about tuition. Tuition is covered. Now you just have to worry about housing, right? And meal plan and campus fees. Now for Cal Grant B, the income has to be much lower, right? If you are in a family of 5, the income ceiling is $85,100. So this kind of gives you an idea of what your student may qualify for based on the income that you had on 2024. Remember, they're looking on 2024 income. Now remember when we talk about any investments, business of your own, the value of that. So for Cal Grant purposes, your student, you as a parent, your investments cannot exceed $111,900. Okay, so if let's say you have, I don't know, a rental property, right? You have a house and then you have another house and it exceeds that value, then you know that even if your income is below the income ceiling, because of that investment that you have, your student wouldn't be eligible for that type of Cal Grant, okay? So middle class scholarship. So middle class scholarship is another scholarship offered by the state of California. And the only requirement is for your student to complete their FAFSA by priority deadline, October 1st through March 2nd. Then once your student has enrolled and is attending either a UC or a CSU, then we will send the enrollment information to them. Basically their enrollment record, letting them know this student is enrolled at our institution. Please let us know what they're eligible for. Notice that I say CSU or UC. Middle class scholarship is only for CSUs or UCs, and in some cases community colleges, as long as your student is gonna receive a bachelor's from that community college, okay? And so when it comes to middle class, the middle class scholarship or MCS, it's a little bit more generous as to how much of an income you can have, okay? For example, for this upcoming year, it's $250,000 per family, okay? So if your income for 2024 was $250,000 or less, you know your student has a chance of getting this scholarship, okay? And how it works with the middle class scholarship is that if the student has no other grants or scholarship, this one is gonna be high. It could be this past year, we awarded up to $10,000 per year, $5,000 a semester, okay? But if the student receives other scholarships or grants, then the middle class is adjusted accordingly, okay? But it's still, a great scholarship, especially for middle class income families, okay? It does help them a lot.
So this one, you just mentioned it's a 10,000, so this might be able to cover more than tuition?
That is correct, yes, yeah. Now, CSUMB scholarship, like I mentioned before, our scholarship application opened up on October 1st, but again, if your student has other colleges or universities in mind, that's the best recommendation that I can give you. Have them start looking for scholarships. There's a lot of scholarships out there. I mean, at our school, sometimes we have the opposite problem. We have students that were like, we cannot take more scholarship because you already cover all of your expenses for the year. Like, we have to reject those checks, okay? So there's a lot of money out there in scholarships. It's not easy. There's essays your students have to write, they have to look for them, and I think that's where the challenge is. So, I mean, the best advice that I can give you is encourage your students to continue to apply for scholarships, because that's what at the end can save you quite a little bit of money. So finally, that is your contact information. So if, let's say, you start doing the FAFSA, and you're like, oh, I'm stuck, or I need help with this, or I don't know if I should put this, you're more than welcome to email our office or go to our website and schedule a one-on-one appointment. We do offer Zoom appointments Mondays and Thursdays, okay, from 5 to 7 p.m. to accommodate your schedule, right? If you need help, if you have a question on FAFSA, we can assist you, okay? Any questions?
Does any of this apply to private schools?
The Cal Grant. The Cal Grant and federal grants, yes. So, give me just a second. Okay, so federal Cal Grant, the SEOG, Cal Grant, federal work study, and the loans. That applies to private schools.
Say that one more time.
Pell Grant, the FSEOG, the Cal Grant, federal work study, and student loans or a Parent Plus loan. Those apply to the private school. Obviously, private schools do have their own scholarship programs, so make sure you follow up with their financial aid office so that you can get familiar as to how their scholarship program works. But yeah, you're welcome. Any other question?
To apply for all of these different programs, are there different applications or just with the FAFSA?
The FAFSA.
You just check boxes and say, I want to apply.
Yep, the FAFSA is like this huge umbrella, and underneath is all these programs. Because remember, for Cal Grant, the high school will send the GPA. For middle class scholarship, the colleges are the ones that are gonna send the enrollment file. And obviously, if they are eligible for Pell or for other supplemental grants, FAFSA will let you know once it's submitted. So yeah, good question. Any other question?
That can also be applicable to universities outside California?
Outside of California, everything except the state aid. So for example, no Cal Grant, no middle class, no state university grants. So only federal, right? So Pell Grant, student loans, federal work study, yes. Yeah. You had a question?
That was my question.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, I think it's good to remind people that if they have a freeze on their credit report, they need to lift that when they hit the button to.
Yes, to apply for a Parent Plus loan,
Otherwise,
yes.
the flag would say that they couldn't run the credit report.
Yes, yeah, so come July, once, obviously by that time, you know where your student is gonna be, that's when you, if you need to, you would apply for a Parent Plus loan, and yes, if you have some kind of credit freeze, you need to make sure that you unfreeze it, because otherwise, we, the school, cannot get through. It just keeps saying that there's, that there's nothing for that student.
So the fraud alert is not, is okay with that?
Yeah, as long as there's not a freeze and,
Yeah, because there are
And
two
then-
things. Fraud alert is different from the
Yeah.
police.
it's only when we have our credit locked or freeze so that nobody can run it, yeah. And it typically takes like 3 days for any school to do the whole process. So I typically recommend parents, look, do it for 3 to 4 days, just because in July, every single school is swamped in financial aid.
Once you submit the FAFSA, how long does it take to come back, and is it changed because of the government shutdown?
No, actually, because all you need to know is your eligibility. Once you, the parent, submit your section, you will automatically know what your student qualifies as far as federal aid. Remember, the state comes until sometime, I would say March, that's when you get to know that. But federal, right there. They'll let you know your SAI is, I don't know, 2,000. Your student is eligible for an X amount of dollars of Pell Grant and student loans. So yeah, no, when it comes to that, there's no delay just yet. Yeah,
And that email goes to the student email or the parent?
both, the student and parent, yes. And this, I don't know if any of you have done a FAFSA this past 2 years for your other students, but this year it is gonna be even much easier, because when your student invites you to complete your section of the FAFSA, all they need is your email address. That's it. They don't need your social, your address, none of that. They just need to type in your email address. You will receive that invite in your email. You click on that link, do your portion, submit it, and that's how the FAFSA is completed.
I was gonna ask, so the student starts the application.
Mm-hmm.
They fill out their portion and then it will get submitted to the parent.
They will submit their section and invite you at the same time, yes, yeah. So if you as a parent submit your FAFSA and you don't get a confirmation that it's being completed, it's because the student did not submit it. Sometimes students, they just send out the invite and they forgot to click next and to sign it. So if they don't sign it, it's not completed, okay?
Usually, don't they usually flag you, they'll tell you, send you a message that there's activity that the student has to complete. Right?
Yeah. So just make sure that if you submitted it and if you don't see the confirmation, follow up with the student. Because sometimes, the student will get emails and whatnot, but they forget, right? It's their senior year, they forget. So yes, but yeah, so this year, we have done a few Cash for College events already, and it seems that FAFSA is being a little bit more friendly than the past 2 years. So that's good for the student. But yeah.
What's the Cash for College?
So it's when high schools have, let's say like from 5 to 7, parents come with their students and complete the FAFSA, and a financial aid counselor is there just, in case there's questions. Yeah. So yeah.
You have mentioned about income ceilings.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really the gross income, or that can depend on the adjusted?
It will be the adjusted, so not line 11 on your tax returns. Yes.
Okay.
So for example, if you have business after any losses, yeah.
Do you know if you make income over a certain amount, you're basically not going to get anything? Do you know what that income level is?
For the federal grants, no, just because the Department of Education changed the formula, so it's tricky. We haven't been able to fully figure it out yet. But because they say it's based on poverty per state and household size, so before it was just everyone across the board. So now, we just know, like I share with you the ones for the state. But for example, just, a family of 4 with an income of over 130,000, chances of getting a Pell Grant slim to none. So yeah, it's more the state aid that allows you to make, a more decent amount of money and still get some help. And then another thing before I forget is that FAFSA is based on 2024 income, but if your income has changed, let's just say you're no longer working or you retire, when the time comes, once your student made the decision of this is the school where I'm gonna go to, you need to communicate that to the financial aid office, and we can then modify the amount based on your current financial situation, okay? But the initial FAFSA application has to have 2024. Later on, it can be changed by a financial aid office. You just need to come forward and let the financial aid office know, hey, I retire, or now I'm working less, or I'm being laid off, or whatever the scenario may be.
So the application that we will be doing now for 26, 27 will use the taxes for 2024?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Could you repeat in the form like what of the assets and all that stuff that we have to enter?
So the ones that do not belong in the FAFSA is the home that you live in and retirement plans. Yeah.
So I understand that you have to also enter like how much money you have in your bank accounts?
Yes, like savings and checkings. So and that is as of the day of the FAFSA. So the day you're completing the FAFSA, they will ask you how much you have in checkings or savings.